The city was already asleep when the chase began. Rain slicked the rooftops of Midtown, turning steel into mirrors. Sirens echoed somewhere far below. Swallowed by distance and traffic, a shadow moved across the skyline. Fast, deliberate, impossible to track. Nightwarden. His boots struck concrete without sound. The cape snapped behind him, heavy with rain, dragging darkness through the air. Ahead, a figure vaulted a gap between buildings, cables sparking as they bit into stone. Gravewire didn't run like a man afraid. He ran like someone leading the way. Nightwarden closed the distance. Grappling line fired. The two collided near the edge of a rooftop, bodies slamming hard, rain exploding outward. Sparks flashed as Gravewire's wires snapped to life, wrapping, tightening. "You're late," Gravewire said, voice calm, almost amused. Nightwarden didn't answer. He never did. The fight was fast, brutal, no wasted movement. Fists met armor. Wires screamed against reinforced forearms. Nightwarden took a hit meant for the edge and kept going. He always did. Below them, a shout. A service elevator jammed halfway up the building. Lights flickered inside. Civilians. Trapped. Nightwarden hesitated. Gravewire smiled. "You still choose them," he said. "That's why you lose." The explosion wasn't loud at first. Just pressure. Heat. A shock wave that rippled through the building's spine. Fire alarm screamed. Windows shattered. Nightwarden moved instantly, ripping open the elevator hatch, forcing it down by hand, shielding the people inside with his body as the world shook around them. Someone screamed his name, not his real one. The building began to give way. Gravewire backed toward the edge, cables retracting. He watched Nightwarden through smoke and falling debris. "She deserves to know," he said softly. Nightwarden turned. Too late. The floor collapsed. The cape caught fire midair as he fell, black fabric burning into ash against the night. His body vanished into the smoke below, swallowed by sirens, water, and chaos. Gravewire was gone before the first police car arrived. By morning, the city would call it a tragedy, a hero's death, a closed case. But somewhere in the rain-soaked ruins, the cape lay torn and smoking, and Nightwarden did not rise. Morning in New York arrived without apology. Traffic returned. Coffee carts hissed. People checked their phones and stepped over yesterday's tragedy, like it had already cooled. By the time the sun reached the tops of the buildings, the city had decided how to remember the night. As a headline, Vigilante falls saving civilians. Maya Cross stood at the edge of the crowd in Central Park. Dressed in black, she didn't remember choosing. A folded program trembled slightly in her hands, damp from the mist that clung to the air. They never used Ethan's name, just Nightwarden. A symbol was easier to mourn. The mayor spoke. A police commissioner spoke. Words like hero and sacrifice were repeated until they lost meaning. Applause followed, respectful, distant, practiced. Maya didn't clap. Her eyes stayed fixed on the empty space where a coffin should have been. There wasn't one. What they recovered hadn't been enough. Someone beside her whispered, "He died the right way." Maya's jaw tightened. The right way. She remembered Ethan folding laundry at midnight because he said it helped him think. Remembered the way he checked the locks twice. Not because he was paranoid, but because he hated leaving things unfinished. He wouldn't have rushed a fight. He wouldn't have made a mistake that big. After the crowd thinned, Detective Lena Ortiz approached her quietly. Badge turned inward, voice low. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said. Maya studied her face. Tired eyes, honest lines. "Is the case really closed?" Maya asked. Ortiz hesitated. "Just a second too long. That's what the report says." Maya nodded. She'd heard enough. Back home, the apartment felt wrong. Too clean. Too quiet. Ethan's mug was still in the sink. His jacket still hung by the door, rain-dried and forgotten. Maya pressed her forehead against it. For the first time since the night before, she cried. Later, much later, she noticed the wall. A hairline seen behind the bookshelf. Something Ethan had patched badly, like he hadn't wanted it perfect. Maya pulled the shelf aside, pressed. The panel shifted. Behind it was darkness and the smell of smoke. She didn't open it yet. She sat on the floor instead, back against the wall, knees drawn in. The city hummed outside the window, alive and unconcerned. They call him a hero. They called it over. Maya stared at the hidden door and whispered to the empty room, "No, it's not." Maya waited until night, not because she was afraid of what was behind the wall, but because daylight made things feel official, permanent. She slid the bookshelf aside again. The seam appeared like a scar she couldn't unsee. One firm push and the panel gave way with a soft click, as if it had been opened many times before. The smell hit her first. Smoke, oil, metal. The space behind the wall was narrow, deliberate. No wasted inches. A vigilante secret built by someone who hated clutter and trusted habits more than people. The suit hung there, not on display, not dramatic, just waiting. Matte black armor plates caught the faint light from the hallway, edges worn, scratched, repaired. The cape hung heavier than she expected, its bottom edge charred and uneven, as if fire had tried to claim it once and failed, or succeeded halfway. Maya reached out, then stopped. Her hand was shaking. She noticed the blood next, dry, dark against the inner lining, not splattered, pressed, absorbed over time. This suit hadn't just seen violence. It had carried it. At the base of the helmet, something glinted, a small port, hidden, intentional. Maya swallowed and pulled the helmet free. It was heavier than it looked. When she turned it over, the inside caught the light and she froze. Carved into the inner rim, just above where the forehead would rest, were two words. "Stand watch." Her breath hitched. "Idiot," she whispered. "You always had to leave notes." She set the helmet down carefully, like it might break if she wasn't gentle. Behind the suit, secured to the wall, was a slim black drive. No label, no encryption mark. Ethan had trusted exactly three things in life: preparation, silence, and redundancy. This was all three. Maya didn't plug it in. Not yet. Instead, she sat on the floor, her back against the wall, staring at the suit as if it might speak first. Outside, a train rumbled past. Somewhere, a car alarm chirped and died. The city was still moving. Ethan wasn't. She realized in what this room really was. Not a shrine, not a weapon cache. A confession. He hadn't told her because he thought he was protecting her. And now the truth was hanging in front of her, heavy, damaged, unfinished. Maya reached for the cape. The fabric slid through her fingers, rougher than it looked. When she lifted it, she felt the weight immediately. Not physical weight, responsibility. She let it fall back into place. "I'm not you," she said quietly. The suit didn't argue, but it didn't disappear either. When Maya closed the panel and pushed the bookshelf back, the apartment felt smaller, like it was holding its breath. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat at the kitchen table, staring at the hidden wall, knowing one thing with terrifying certainty. Whatever killed her husband, he had gone looking for it. And now, so would she. Maya didn't put on the suit. She didn't need it yet. She needed answers. The drive from the wall sat on her desk like a dare. She stared at it for an hour before finally plugging it into her laptop. No auto-run. No flashy interface. Just folders. Dates. Coordinates. Ethan had organized everything the way he did his life. Quietly, obsessively. Most of the files were empty shells. Decoys. But one folder wasn't. KD/East River/test 01. Maya's pulse quickened. She cross-referenced the date. 3 months before Ethan's death. The incident barely registered online. A late-night electrical fire in a commercial building. 2 maintenance workers dead. Case ruled accidental. No follow-up. She zoomed in on a grainy photo Ethan had taken from across the street. Firefighters. Caution tape. And a logo on a van in the background. Kane Dynamics. Maya leaned back, exhaling slowly. She didn't jump to conclusions. She never had. She followed trails. By afternoon, She was sitting across from Jonah Reed in a coffee shop that smelled like burnt espresso and bad decisions. Jonah kept checking the door. "You shouldn't be asking about Kane," he said. Not casually. "Not at all." "I'm not casual," Maya replied. "I'm careful." Jonah laughed once. Sharp. Nervous. That makes it worse. He slid a napkin toward her. Numbers scribbled fast and tight. Energy output like that doesn't belong in a city. Not without oversight. Kane pushed prototypes through private testing. Off the books. "People died," Maya said. Jonah didn't argue. "They buried it," he said instead. "Clean. Anyone who asked questions got paid or disappeared." Maya folded the napkin and slipped it into her pocket. On her way home, she noticed a car. Black. Parked across the street from her building. Engine running. Windows tinted. It wasn't subtle. It was confident. She walked past without looking. Took the long way around the block. When she returned, the car was gone. That night, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Stop digging. No threats. No explanations. Just a statement. Maya stared at the message, then at the hidden wall behind her bookshelf. Ethan hadn't died chasing a criminal. He died asking the wrong questions. Maya deleted the message. Then she stood up and walked toward the wall. If the truth had teeth, she was done running from the bite. Maya didn't start with a suit. She started with her body. At dawn, she ran until her lungs burned and her legs trembled. She trained in empty gyms, in stairwells, in places no one noticed a woman pushing herself past comfort. She wrapped her hands until the skin split, then wrapped them again. Pain was honest. Pain didn't lie. At night, she studied Ethan's notes. Not plans, principles. How he moved through crowds. How he avoided cameras. Why he never fought the same way twice. She learned what he feared. Not dying. Failing to finish. The first time she touched the suit again, her hands didn't shake. She laid it out piece by piece on the floor. Armor. Belt. Helmet. Cape. When she lifted the helmet, the words inside caught the light. Stand watch. She put it on. The world narrowed instantly. Sound dampened. Breath echoed back at her. Too loud, too close. She hated that part. The isolation. She stepped toward the mirror and froze. Nightwarden stared back. Not Ethan. Not her. Something in between. The suit didn't fit perfectly. It wasn't meant to. She adjusted the straps, removed one plate, shifted another. She made it lighter, faster. Hers. The cape came last. When she fastened it, the weight settled across her shoulders, not dragging her down, but pulling her backward toward memory. She stood there a long time. Then she moved. She climbed, fell, missed grips, swore quietly into the mask. Learned the suit's limits the hard way. Bruises bloomed beneath the armor. The grappling line misfired once and slammed her into a wall hard enough to knock the breath out of her. She laughed when she could breathe again. Not because it was funny, because Ethan would have hated seeing her quit. By the end of the week, she stopped thinking about the suit. By the end of the second, she stopped thinking at all. Movement replaced doubt. One night, perched on the edge of a rooftop, the city spread beneath her, lights blinking like signals meant for someone else. Her calm stayed silent. No mission, no signal. This wasn't about patrol. This was about choice. Maya stepped back from the edge, then forward. The cape caught the wind. Nightwarden returned to the city without a sound. The first call didn't come through a radio. It came through a scream. Maya heard it 3 rooftops away. Sharp, sudden, desperate. She moved before thinking. The city unfolding beneath her as muscle memory took over. An alley near Hell's Kitchen. 2 men, 1 knife, 1 woman pinned against brick, eyes wide with terror. Maya dropped between them. The impact cracked concrete. The men froze. The cape settled behind her like a living thing. "Run," she said. The woman didn't hesitate. One of the men laughed. Nervous. "Wrong. You're not him," he said. "You don't move like—" Maya stepped forward. She didn't fight like Ethan. She ended it faster. A wrist snapped. A knee buckled. The knife hit the ground before the man realized his hand was empty. The second tried to run. The grappling line wrapped his ankle and yanked him backward hard enough to steal the air from his lungs. Silence returned to the alley. Maya stood there, heart hammering, staring at her hands. She hadn't crossed the line, but she'd touched it. By morning, the city whispered. A blurry video surfaced. Shaky, dark, a cape vanishing into shadow. Nightwarden spotted in Hell's Kitchen. Comments flooded in. He's back. That's impossible. I knew he wasn't dead. Detective Lena Ortiz watched the clip twice, then a third time. Something's off, she murmured. Across the city, Victor Kane watched too. He paused the frame, zoomed in, different stance, different timing. A slow smile crept across his face. That's not you, he said to the empty room. Is it? That night, Maya stood on a rooftop overlooking the river, rain misting her visor. Sirens echoed below. Lights pulsed and faded. She hadn't saved the city. She'd reminded it. Somewhere, someone painted graffiti on a brick wall. Before sunrise, Nightwarden lives. Maya turned away before dawn broke. The city didn't need a savior. It needed a shadow that wouldn't blink. The files had been a breadcrumb trail. Now they became a map. Maya spread the data across her laptop and tablet. Names, dates, coordinates, energy readings, encrypted logs, all pointing to Kane Dynamics, Victor Kane, and the night that killed Ethan. She traced it back 3 months. An unauthorized energy test near the East River. Casualties. 2 employees officially, dozens unreported. The kind of numbers that never hit a press release. She leaned back, letting it sink in. Ethan hadn't died chasing a villain. He had died trying to stop a man who didn't care who lived. Jonah Reed was silent beside her, nervous. He tapped a finger against the table. He knew it was dangerous, he said. Ethan went in there expecting a fight, but not expecting this. What did he expect, Jonah? Maya whispered. Mercy? Jonah's eyes darted to the street outside, as if Victor himself could appear at any moment. Yes, he said quietly. Ethan gave him a chance to stop, to surrender. Kane refused. Maya's stomach twisted. So this wasn't just ambition. It was choice. She remembered the blood on the helmet, the burned edges of the cape. The city had seen a hero fall, but Ethan had chosen to protect others first. That had been his last act. Her fists clenched. You mean he didn't die by accident? Maya said, her voice low. Victor killed him? Jonah hesitated. No, he said. He let him die. He made the choice to escape, knowing Ethan would be trapped. The building wasn't ready. The people weren't evacuated. Ethan stayed to save them. The room fell silent. Maya pulled the cape from the chair and draped it over her shoulders. Heavy, burning with memory. Her chest tightened. It wasn't grief anymore. It was clarity. Her jaw set. Then I finished what he started, she said. She didn't think of herself as a hero yet. Not tonight. Tonight, she would become a shadow that watched, that waited, that struck. The first step wasn't about justice. It was about truth. And the city was about to feel it. The city skyline was a jagged horizon of lights and steel. Rain slicked the streets below, reflecting the neon glow signs. Maya perched on the edge of Kane Dynamics' rooftop, like a shadow waiting to strike. Somewhere inside, Victor Kane watched. Calm, cold, confident. You came, he said over the open comm system. His voice carried over the rain, clear and unnerving. I wondered how long it would take. Maya didn't answer. She tightened the cape around her shoulders. Every step she'd taken had led here. Every bruise, every sleepless night, every quiet moment studying Ethan's principles. It all led here. Victor emerged from the shadows. He was taller than she remembered in photos. Glasses perched on his nose, lab coat fluttering like a torn banner. But this wasn't the timid engineer everyone had believed him to be. This was a man amplified, a genius fused with his own electrical experiment. Sparks ran along his fingertips. His eyes glinted unnaturally, alive with energy that seemed ready to explode. You think this suit makes you him? Victor asked. He flexed a hand, sending a crackling arc of lightning across the rooftop, melting a vent cover. It doesn't. It never will. Maya stepped forward. It's not about being him. It's about finishing what he started. Victor laughed, and it was a sound that made the rain seem colder. The first strike came in a flash, Victor's lightning slicing across the rooftop. Maya rolled under it, cape flaring behind her. She fired the grappling line, snagged a support beam, swung around, and landed on his flank. He wasn't just strong. He was smart. Every attack she threw, every strike, every tactic she'd rehearsed, he predicted. Sparks flared where his hands met hers. The rooftop shook. You saved them, Victor said, blocking a kick with an electric pulse. He saved them. You saved him. Enough! Maya shouted. Her first real strike connected, knocking him backward. He would have stopped you. You killed him. Victor grinned through the pain, letting the electricity surge through him. No, he chose mercy. That was his mistake. The fight tore across the rooftop, cables snapping, sparks flying, the storm above acting as a soundtrack. Maya dodged, countered, leapt. Victor's power grew with his arrogance, arcs of lightning wrapping around his arms, the rooftop vibrating under their battle. Finally, Maya caught him off guard. She used the grappling line to pull him toward the edge. He stumbled, dangerously close to falling, but she didn't push him. She stood over him, soaked, exhausted, chest heaving, cape clinging like a dark wing. You'll answer for what you did, she said. Victor's grin faded, replaced by something uncomfortably human. Fear. For the first time, he realized that this was more than a fight of power. It was principle. Sirens sounded in the distance. Lena Ortiz had arrived, back up in tow. Victor Kane's empire, his experiments, his carefully hidden crimes. They were exposed. Maya didn't strike again. She didn't have to. He would face justice, not her vengeance. And as the storm raged around them, she felt the weight of the suit, the cape, the legacy, and knew that Ethan had been right all along. Some battles weren't won with fists or lightning. They were won by choosing the truth. Maya had turned away. Nightwarden faded into the night. Rain had stopped. The city smelled of wet asphalt and electricity. Sirens and news helicopters buzzed far below, chasing Victor Kane's collapse. His empire was crumbling, his secrets exposed, his influence gone. Maya watched from a rooftop, cape heavy on her shoulders. She had done what Ethan never could. She confronted the truth, faced the man who had taken him, and let justice take its course. Below, police cuffed Victor. The cameras caught his scowl, the sparks from his devices dying out one by one. He had power, brilliance, ambition, and yet he was human, fallible, mortal. Maya didn't celebrate. She didn't even smile. The city didn't need her to. It needed her shadow. She stepped back from the edge. Her suit, her cape, they were heavier now, full of history and consequence. Somewhere, someone would see her again. Somewhere, someone would remember. Graffiti appeared overnight on a wall in the Lower East Side. Nightwarden lives. And maybe that was enough. For a moment, she removed the helmet. The city sprawled beneath her, alive, oblivious, and chaotic. She breathed in the night air, letting the wind catch the cape one last time before pulling it tight around her shoulders again. No applause, no headlines, no recognition. Only a choice to watch, to wait, to protect. Somewhere above, she whispered to herself, heroes save the city. Someone has to watch it. Then she vanished into the shadows, leaving behind a symbol larger than any one person. The city was alive, and Nightwarden would always be there.